And they stopped this time and they said, please don't yell into the microphone.
Oh no!
So he spelled cut, and then he says, what does it spell? Budget. It spelled budget. That's all.
Whenever you're ready.
And that was right in this year.
And then we're right into that.
Oh no!
Yeah, they started.
Wait, I gotta ask.
They really started to
Put on your crazy mind and get inside their mind as a lawyer. As a lawyer.
All right, and we're back with yet another day of trial at the Los Angeles Central District Federal Courthouse. And we have another update on what transpired today with the witness testimony that was given by deputies of the city, particularly Matthew Zabo. I always butcher his name. But he is the COA. So he's the guy that legislated and negotiated the deals on various housing projects and construction of the alleged units to be used for shelter for homelessness. We have Wayne and George on the side here, but before we get to them, I just had some bits of info that I found most interesting. So, in the alliance agreement, which is the settlement agreement that the city came to as a negotiated deal for executing its homelessness programs, be it shelter and other alleged social services, which we know definitely don't really exist. They finally got it today, into today, on the issue of what does the word create mean, because part of the contract, if you read it, it actually states that they're supposed to create new housing. And the question was asked to Matthew, is there a definition in the settlement agreement on what the definition of the word create is in terms of housing specifically, not in terms of services, but in terms of housing specifically? Matthew answered, no, it's not in the settlement agreement. And it was additionally not clarified by Matthew either. So that's fascinating because repeatedly in the contract it states they're supposed to create new houses, they're supposed to create new beds, they're supposed to create what exactly? How do you count this quantity of creation? How do you count the quantity of creation of beds, of units? Of what, really? What are you creating? And how are you defining the term create? Can you count something that was in use already, in existence, but you're now also stipulating it's also going to be used for this new program, and so therefore you technically created a new bed for that, for the purposes of saying, well, it's part of a new program that came into existence, so ergo we did in fact create a new bed and a new unit as stipulated in our contract. And the worst part again on that one is that there was no clarification on what the term, the definition of the word create meant as it relates to the settlement agreement. Another really interesting question was, were any of the units in existence as it stipulates in the settlement agreement, were any of those units out of the 12,900 or so used as affordable housing prior to being used for the settlement agreement to count as a double dip? The answer was yes. In fact, many of those units have been used as such. And that double dipping counts for the creation of not only beds, but the creation of overall housing that they're quantifying in some aspects as permanent housing, which again goes back to the first question. What does the word create mean? Create in what context? So yes, it was answered in the affirmative that there is double dipping. So then the logical question afterwards is, what then constitutes as a housing solution? What does that even mean? Is something allowed to be categorized and labeled as a housing solution just simply because it's labeled as part of the Inside Safe program? just because the city paid for it, does that automatically mean now you can categorize it as a housing solution if it provides no housing, if there are no people housed? That was not clarified or answered at all. Another interesting question asked today was, did the city and Matthew have any idea that any of the properties being used in the settlement agreement for the roadmap and alliance program, did they have any idea of the properties being used in any other capacity before they were commandeered for inside safe? Meaning, again, going back to the question specifically now, being addressed in the context of inside safe, but going back to the double dipping aspect, were these things used before for housing? And did Matthew have any idea of it? He answered no, which I find really shocking because by his own admission in his later testimony, literally just an hour ago, when he was being cross-examined by his own lawyers, he admitted that he had very large authority and responsibility as part of his position with the city, and the biggest one of that being that he specifically knew about whether a property was going to be commandeered by Inside Safe, whether it was going to be counted as a double dipped item or not. So that was interesting. Another interesting question: RVs that are towed as part of the alleged cleaning efforts, who keeps those RV towing records? Matthew says, well, the city doesn't in any capacity. In fact, they're saying that it's actually the Los Angeles Department of Transportation, LADOT, that's the source and custodian and record keeper of such records. He says there are, in fact, a difference between impound records where it's towed to be held at a place versus ones that are towed to be destroyed. He admits that there are, in fact, records, impound records. And so the question was not whether those records exist, but whether the city has access to those records as it's mandating the removal by enacting policies of RVs. Is the city at least captured in that chain of communication and correspondence of those records? Apparently, according to Matthew, they're not, which is quite shocking because that's obviously something that you would want to know since you're mandating a policy that RVs in certain areas at certain hours are being removed or are being destroyed, but yet you're not keeping any records of those, or at the very least you're not requiring and or mandating that you be connected and shared in any of that correspondence. Then, interestingly enough, a follow-up was asked to dig even deeper. So then, when an RV is dismantled but not impounded, does that count on the RV cleanup and the overall cleanup efforts? Matthew answered he's not sure, that he needed to check in. With who was the next question, and he said, well, with his team. Why is that interesting? Well, that means that he does know, in fact, what happens with those records when an RV is dismantled, both when it's dismantled and it's impounded. But he was trying to cop his way out on the stand to say that he would need to check in with somebody. But then when he was pressed on, okay, cool, you need to check in with somebody, but who would you check in with? And he admitted it would be his own team, meaning basically himself, as he has complete supervision of that entire process. So again, another interesting line of questioning asked to Matthew Zabo. He was particularly grilled on the origin story of how these 12,900 beds came to be, and their value being how it was at the value, meaning not only what you're spending on it, but what the overall value in terms of a fair market value of selling those units afterwards, if so that were to be the case, if the city decided afterwards or whatnot, those units that were to be sold, what equation, what calculation, what standards, what specifications did they use to determine a value of these 12,900 beds. Matthew got, at this point, was very, interestingly enough, was very red and flustered. And as the day went on, frankly, pretty earlier in the day, his own counsel just started abandoning him altogether. This guy was totally thrown under the bus. His counsel was not objecting to questions. They were just letting him get steamrolled. And it was quite apparent that he was getting pinched. It was quite apparent that he was getting thrown under the bus. And it was quite apparent that if they were not using him as a fall guy, it was apparent that he didn't know that he was basically being set up by his own counsel. They took a recess at this point when this line of questioning came, and it was only about a 5-minute recess. His counsel never went to talk to him at all. They in fact congregated on the opposite side of the room where Matthew was, still within the seating area that the attorneys on the case are allowed to, but on the far opposite side. So you can imagine Matthew is here and his lawyers move all the way over here. Normally that's where the lawyers are at, but they deliberately moved all the way back here and did not welcome Matthew in at all, did not talk to him at all, did not help counsel him at all. His face was, I mean, tomato red. Like he was clearly flustered. He was constantly sort of stuttering and, tripping over his own words. His lawyers were not stepping in to help him. Matthew Zabo also admits to the existence of what's called a tent exchange program, similar to a needle exchange program, where you return an old tent and you're supposed to get a new one. But, however, he did not answer and or provide any clarification on whether these return tents counted either as a bed or as any of the alleged services being provided to alleviate homelessness. Zabo also clarified and explained that yes, in fact, they do via the Alliance, the Roadmap, and the Inside Safe program. The city does in fact obtain state grant money specifically for the tent exchange program. So again, talking about the tent exchange program, where the city is not answering as to whether it used that in its calculation of a bed, used that in its calculation of counting towards providing a homelessness alleviation program and or service. He was further grilled on the tent exchange program, and it was discovered that part of the requirements to submit the application for that grant, specifically for the tent exchange program, is you actually have to show the specific address that those tents will be used in. So you can't just order and claim to have ordered some indefinite number of tents. Each tent has to be allocated to a particular physical address, and that's important. And those are really the biggest highlights. I think probably the funniest one was, I think this guy's something McCabe from the firm on the city side, tall black guy. He had probably the funniest theatrics I've ever seen. If you haven't been to this case yet, You got to understand just how Judge Carter himself actually operates. He doesn't care for theatrics. He doesn't care for showmanship. He doesn't care for any of that flaunting mumbo jumbo, high fluent lawyer shit. He just wants the cold hard facts. He does not entertain any sort of bullshit whatsoever. There is no room for any sort of mistakes. He does not entertain any bullshit, period, and he does not care for any of it. And this guy just tries to amplify whatever theater class. I'm sure he probably fucking learned from Scientology at some point. Stupid theatrics that if he hasn't gotten it at this point, I hope he does after watching this video. But I mean, he's walking around like it's fucking a play, like some sort of theatrical play, when every other attorney, both on the city side and on the plaintiff side, clearly are going off of a very just strict, straight to the facts. What's the question? That's it. No theatrics, no raising on the tone of voice, no bullshit of cutting in and interrupting people when they're talking, no steamrolling a witness with questions, no going too fast, none of that shit. And each break, he makes sure there's a specific clock, there's a specific time allocated. He doesn't entertain bullshit too long breaks. He times that shit. And if you say 5 minutes, it better fucking be 5 minutes. If you say 10 minutes, it's going to be 10 minutes. There's no wiggle room whatsoever. And here's this guy, he's doing the whole like holding his hands behind his back, and he's just like grandstanding and making all these gestures, and the judge's face is just totally unamused. This guy thinks that he's acting in this grand play, but he just doesn't care. This guy, Judge Carter, has just a very cold, steely-eyed, straight to the facts approach. He just doesn't care. And it's so funny. It's so funny to see because they just don't get it. I mean, when Matthew was being cross-examined by his own lawyer opened up the whole money question as to incentives and payoffs and connections that Matthew and other city officials had. That was never a line of questioning ever brought up by any of the plaintiffs' counsel, but his own lawyers brought it up. And it's clear that these guys just don't get it. I think they're living by this dream, fantasy world where if you just put on a theatrical enough show, but your questions all suck, your evidence sucks, and your line of arguments all suck, as well as just frivolously and vexatiously objecting to everything, even if you fart in the wrong general direction. I mean, Judge Carter doesn't care about any of that. The city doesn't get it. Heidi particularly doesn't get it. The lawyers hired by the city don't get it. And it doesn't change the fact that they're getting paid easily. Like that guy as the lead counsel, easily, he's making 10 grand an hour. There's just no way. He's making minimum 10 G's an hour. And the analysts, of course, all the staffers that support that, those guys are easily making $500-600 an hour. And it's all being paid for by the taxpayer dollars of City of Los Angeles. And so it's just funny to watch. An alleged high-powered firm that is supposed to be the best and, the brightest and able to read the room and super competent just continues to show how utterly incompetent they are, how utter clowns they look in the courtroom. I mean, just yesterday, just because a guy was having a juice box, this guy flips his lid and decides that that's going to be the whole topic of interest and just lashes out in court. And he's supposed to be the professional, calm, demure and, well-mannered and controlled guy, and here he is flying off the cuff. So it's just an interesting, gold-plated shit pile is the best way I can put it. That's all I got on that end. I'll see if these guys have anything. You guys have anything you want to add?
We don't even know what you're saying.
I went off a whole bunch of stuff. The last thing I ended on was the lawyer with his theatrics, and he thinks it's a giant William Shakespeare play, and
Yeah, yes.
high-powered lawyer that can't take a clue that the judge just doesn't care. Here, hold on, I'll get you in the.
See the big time lawyer, and you have to do it the way he does it. He puts his hands behind his back, and he goes, and I want to ask you, in your sole discretion. Now, see, you gotta stretch the arm out and cup it like this. Right? You put it on the top of the monitor. You see. Then you go. So, is it your opinion that you had discretion to do that? Then the guy answers the question. Yes, that's correct. Now you got to walk over to the left side, and with your hand behind your back, like this. Your Honor, may I have a minute to confer with co-counsel? I'm trying to preface my remarks. If I'm understanding what your educational background is, sir. Now, you study public policy. Are these the kind of ligatures in a public policy debate that one might find generic and germane to the topic? You may answer that question, sir. Yes, that's correct. Now, let me preface my remark first, if I may. Objection, Your Honor. Overruled. Well, Your Honor, I will withdraw that question, and I will rephrase it. After all, it's my question. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I digress. I'm thinking of an adroit type of concept in homelessness. You define homelessness differently or the same as the generic definition of people on the street? The judge, do you understand that question?
Yes, I think I do.
Yes, you may answer that question, sir. I'm concerned. I would like to go to Exhibit 144, page 64. Now, I notice the screen is blank. Your Honor, that's not my fault. I just noticed that it's having a functional hiccup.
Every now
I don't understand exactly what you mean by that. Can you give me an idea what other concepts you're talking about, sir? So now, everybody walks out and goes, damn, that is one great lawyer. Man, did you see that? Did you see that? He really knows what he's doing. And that's what we're paying our tax money for $850 a fucking hour. So that this lunatic asshole can go up there and make all of these gestures. So now, The other guys, the other plaintiff's attorneys are like mesmerized by the snake charmer. And they forget to do their fucking job. And it's like, did you just see this complete bullshit? There is absolutely nothing he asked that's relevant to this fucking case. No, because it's the snake charmer. Well, you,
Three-card money.
good, Your Honor, good afternoon. I am a partner in the law firm. There we go. There we go.
We're not laughing at you. We're just having fun.
Co-counsel would like to introduce themselves. Over here to the left is John. He's my legal deputy. John, would you stand up and address the judge? May it please the court. Yes, Your Honor, may it please the court. I would like to surmise this situation for you as best as I could. The homeless situation, Your Honor, is not only in control. The city has went to extraordinary efforts to exceed the mandate. Not only have they met the mandate, they have exceeded it. Now, I will ask you, sir, in your budget, did you cut those homeless services funds? No, we didn't. And you got rid of the encampments. Yes, we did. All of the encampments. I was over here across the street. I don't see any encampments now. That's right. So therefore, is that a metric upon which we may measure success? Or is this not something in this diatribe, Your Honor, that these people have engaged in for 5 days of complete circumspection? We are using objective terminology, Your Honor, not subjective theories. We are not here to persecute. We are not here to harm. We are here to assist. Public servants, Your Honor. These are men and women of great talent who are making themselves take a pay cut. A pay cut. Just to try to help the most disfortunate folks in our community. As Shakespeare said, and I will quote in Latin, eris tu non fingo demonstrata. That's Hornbook law, Your Honor, in corpus juris secundum that we study as a first-year law student. It is Hornbook law. Do no harm. Protect the civil society and achieve the greater good. Your Honor, I rest on that. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. And Your Honor, thank you for your service. I yield my tongue.
Scene.
Okay, and that's what that's basically what these fucking asshole clowns have done for 3 days. Okay, and the other side's so mesmerized. God, it's Gibson, Dunn, and Crutcher. Holy shit, there's like 20 federal judges that used to work there. Oh my God, now we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose because the city council gave them tens of thousands of dollars an hour to fucking, see, instead of these fucking lawyers go,
They're giving them millions.
right, so these other lawyers are so mesmerized by the snake charmer, instead of the other lawyers going, Your Honor, I want to ask you a question. I sat here for 2 hours and listened to this, and I don't want to be mean, I don't want to be disrespectful. I can't understand 3/4 of what this man has said. The entire line of questioning is completely irrelevant. And all they had to do was put up a bunch of fucking slides of photos of the current condition of our streets. All they had to do with a fucking $4.99 camera, a disposable fucking camera with a $5 fucking SD card in it was take and drive their $200,000 fucking Mercedes over to LA Live. Stop there on Figueroa and 11th and take a photo of the beautiful LA Live. And then go 500 feet down to the next alley, where you got drug addicts and thieves and pushers there smoking fentanyl and taking a shit on the fucking sidewalk. Snap a photo. And then go down under the underpass, where all of the walls are tagged and the burn marks from the fucking fires set by the homeless. Take another photo. And just keep taking photo by photo. So go to court and go, Your Honor, I want to show these photos that I took today. Click, 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 and then go to the witness for the city. Mr. Zabo, the head of the homeless CAO. Have you seen these areas of the city before today?
Yes.
Do you drive a car around this area, sir, as part of your job? Yes. Do you ever go to these places that I have these photos of? Yes. What do you think of the conditions of these areas? Would you park your car there and walk down and have a cup of coffee? Would you feel safe doing that? Or would you trip over all the homeless drug addicts on the floor and get feces on your shoes and a drug needle in your leg on your way back to your car?
Well, you got a free ride.
Why, Mr. Zabo, can't you clean up the overpass 200 feet from your office? Why can't you do that? When you open the window, do you see homeless people? Yes. Do you smell the homeless people, Mr. Zabo? Yes. How do you get to work when you go to lunch? Where do you go to lunch? Do you take public transportation? Do you take the subway? Do you take the bus? No. Why not? You don't agree that public transportation is the best way to get around the city? Yes, I do. Then why aren't you taking public transportation? Did you take public transportation today from your office 2 blocks down to here? No. How did you get to the court today? I drove. Your Honor, he decided to drive
How many blocks?
a block and a half. And where did you park?
Well, I had my driver stop.
Oh, you have a driver. What kind of car? An SUV.
And who owns that?
And who's paying for that? The city. How much money do you make a year, sir, in your standard salary? I object. Sir, we can look it up. How much do you make? $285,000. No, sir. With all of your benefits and overtime, you made almost $400,000 last year.
It's right here.
Do you get a free car? Or do you pay for the car out of your pocket? I get a city car. In addition to the pay. Right. Do you have security? Do you have a security detail? Do city council members and other people have security details? Yes. Why do you feel so unsafe when you're in the city? What is making you fear that you need to have all of this security? Isn't LA safe? Yes. Are the homeless safe? I don't understand the question. Well,
No foundation.
well, you get in.
Amenity.
Well, do you ever get in your car and witness a cleanup so that you can oversee to make sure it's being done correctly? That's not my job. I didn't ask you that. I asked you if you go to those encampments and talk to those people and offer them shelter.
Betty's never been to one.
How many have you done in the last 5 years, sir? How many outreaches have you done
Personally.
personally? None. Why not? Well,
I'm
my
busy in
well, my
job.
staff goes out, sir. How are you the most qualified? And I'll read your testimony. I am the most qualified person to speak on the subject. How are you the most qualified to speak about the subject if you're not even engaging in the
No
subject?
personal information.
How are you able to determine the metric? You never go to one of these cleanups? Not one? No. How are you having a frame of reference? How do you know if it's being done right?
Or have through trust.
Yes.
He kept talking about
No,
trust.
that's right. So now you go,
So if you don't know them, how do you
Right.
have trust?
all right. So now you go, your very distinguished attorney asked you some very good questions. So you're saying that the agreement that was signed between us and the city gives you unfettered discretion to decide if it's being met. Is that correct? Yes. So you're saying that we, 5 years ago, our firm, signed an agreement on behalf of our clients with you, the city, to give away any chance we have of accountability and to put our sole trust in you. And that you are the final arbiter, you are the final say of what constitutes compliance.
And chief negotiator of legal.
Right. Is that right? No, that's not what I said, but that's what your attorney said. Right? Right. So you're saying that we, at our firm 5 years ago, for the Alliance, signed and had our clients sign an agreement, essentially, where they have absolutely nothing to show for it. And even if you violate it, it means nothing as long as you sit in that chair and say, we're in compliance. Is that my understanding? No, but that's what you just said. Are you in compliance? Yes. Why? Because we met them, but our audit says you're failing. The court says you're failing. The audit says you have failed, that you have not achieved the goal. But you're saying that the agreement is up to you. So even if 50 people come here and I call 50 more witnesses and every one of the 50 says you're breaching the agreement, you're breaching the agreement, you're not in compliance, it doesn't matter because you say that we signed an agreement giving you and only you the sole determination if it's in compliance or not. Is that right? Yes. Well, Your Honor, at this time I would like to give you my bar license. Your Honor, me and my firm then are not fit to practice law in the state of California because we have allowed our clients to be defrauded by a fictional agreement where they have no rights and no accountability. Here it is, Your Honor. We have failed. The city has unlimited discretion to decide what is a cleanup, what isn't a cleanup, what is housing, what isn't housing, and we were stupid enough to be tricked into signing such an agreement. Is that right? No. Well, then, are you saying you failed? No, we're in compliance. Let's get back to the question. You are the sole discretion. You and the city are the only ones that can determine compliance. right? No, I didn't say that. Well, which is it? Where's the $2 billion of missing unaccounted for homeless funds, sir? What progress have you made regarding that? I don't know anything about it, but you're the head of the department. You are the chief negotiator. Where's the money? What did you do with the $2 billion?
How did you spend
How many housing units of the 66,000 housing units that you promised are currently now online? I don't know. Well, I have it right here. 2,400 out of 66,000 of them are online. That means you're off by 59% per year. What happens when you fall behind? You can't complete a project. We go to the developer. No, no, sir, you're lying to us. You have sole discretion. Let's go back. Your attorney says you have sole discretion. Yes. Okay. So we have a developer. The city bought his project for $59 million cash 4 years ago. Do you remember that? Yes. Okay. How many people are housed in that project currently? It's under construction. So what's the answer? 5, 4, 300. How many? Today. 0.
What did you spend for it?
But you spent $60 million to buy it, and you've had 4 years to renovate it. How much has the renovation cost so far? How much in security per month do you spend securing the property from vandalism?
Wall construction?
I don't know. Sir, you're under oath and you're lying. I'm going to ask you again. $25,000 a month. $300,000 a year just for the security company to secure the site that you haven't even begun to house anybody in yet.
How many years?
For 5 years. Sir, how much is that in 5 years? I don't know. $4.5 million in security. So, let's go back to the first question. Are you in compliance?
And can you ever be in compliance?
Now, Mr. Zabo, Mr. Chief Negotiator, you have a little secret that I would like you to tell the court. You have a little secret, don't you? Why don't you tell the court what your little secret is when you're not in compliance? What did you just do? I don't know. You're under oath and you're lying to me again. What did you do with the project that you have not finished and nobody's housed and you spent $74 million on? What did you just do with that project? What did you just do with that project? Did you sell the property? Is that a no? No. What did you do? On the basis of the question possibly self-incriminating me, I will not answer that question. Sir, are you taking the Fifth Amendment? Well, wait a minute, sir. I can't answer that question. Sir, either you answer the question or I'll bring the witness up that can tell us what you did. Your Honor, I'll tell you what he did. Mr. Defense, I'll tell you what he did. It was in today's newspaper. It was published today, Your Honor. Your Honor, I will submit the article as judicial notice. It's a public document. Do you know what this witness just did, Your Honor, with that project? He extended it till 2028, December 1st, He gave them another 3 years to complete the project with an extension up till 2031. And then he went to his office, Your Honor, and he took out his computer, and on his checklist, he puts down project, 300 rooms, beds, 450, occupied, 0, pending, 450 beds pending. That's how he's doing it, Your Honor. Right? Right there, Mr. Chief Negotiator. Isn't that right? I can't answer that question. Well, I don't understand. I don't understand. So you can take projects where the taxpayers pay tens of millions of dollars for homelessness and never finish them and never house one person in those projects. But as long as you take out a checklist and say that it's pending, you count that towards your goals. And you file it so that the court gives you an extension so that you can keep telling us you're in compliance because you have sole discretion. Right? See, this guy would be like,
Your Honor, I got to take a bathroom break. I don't feel well.
see, but these guys don't do that. No, they sit the fuck down and they're like, wow,
It's full sociopath.
how the fuck can I,
Wiggle out of this.
how can I wiggle out of this?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's got sole discretion. Well, we're fucked then, right? Because he decides what it is, right? But you have to determine how he's doing it. And this little blog, the West Side, whatever the fuck it's called, the West Side,
The one we just read.
yeah, some little blog, West Side Reader or East Sider, some little blog, writes the story and publishes it online and goes through exactly what these bastards are doing to say that they are in compliance because they're going towards the goal. All right? Up till 2031. He extends it 3 years. Now he gives them an option for another 3 years. This is how they're fucking doing it. And they have done this. They bought hotels. They bought apartment buildings.
And you have to ask the question of this.
Yeah.
In a normal,
Yeah.
no, because
Yeah.
I'm not, no,
Okay, all right, okay, all
I
right.
can't interrupt that. I just
Okay,
wanna
yeah.
add this in.
So, yeah.
In a normal world,
Yeah.
in normal construction, say a company went in and bought that
They
hotel,
bought
it
a
was all
hotel.
trashed out,
Right.
and they went to rehab it.
Yeah.
How long would it take a normal company to rehab a property in normal business? Now let Wayne go, because nobody can be what he is.
16 to 24 months. That property would
If
be
it's
done.
wasted.
If it's fucking wasted, top to bottom, 16 to 24 months, they wouldn't spend
And
another
if it's
dollar.
not fucked up,
No.
a year. It's
Because your construction loans are going to be 12 to 15%. So every month you're paying 12 to 15%, you're losing money on interest.
over. Right.
So the developers are incentivized
No income.
to rush, to get it done, to get it done, to get it done. Nobody takes 8 to 10 fucking years to renovate a 200-unit building. Nobody. Nobody takes 8 to
That's
10
why I
years.
asked the question.
But these bastards are going to do it. And the worst part is that they're required to have insurance. They're required to take people who could be housed and give them temporary shelter while the project's
High
being...
rates.
Yeah. So now this little article even says, oh, well, they're giving them vouchers for monthly rent at something like $3,000 a month. Okay. So this is where the $2 billion of our money went. Now they get more money from Sacramento. They get more money from Washington to go out and help the homeless with care. Well, they just mentioned today one of the care things was the 10 exchange program, where you take your dirty fecal matter filled tent, and you give it to the city, and they give you a brand new tent. The tent exchange program.
You know, that's not really a bad thing.
Well, guess what the head of the homeless negotiators said? He says he's never heard of the program.
No, but that's a good policy.
And then he says.
He never heard of it.
And then he says it's counted on the same. He says it's counted as housing.
Yeah, it's counted as housing. And another thing is,
A tent?
He said it's counted as creating.
yeah,
housing.
it's creative housing. So another thing that he said,
Oh, well,
yeah,
so that.
yeah.
So
So
that's money for developers and their friends' pockets,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So another
To pay
thing,
them.
so another thing that they asked was, what happens when they go out, they clean up a homeless encampment, and they come right back? They just go across the street, they wait for the cleanup, and they come right back.
Did you see the definition of encampment?
Yeah, it includes a tent.
3 in a 300-foot radius.
Right. Yeah. So,
What?
so what they used to do over here, right across from the courthouse, over by First Street, Spring, and Broadway, every Thursday morning, when Kevin De Leon was the council member for this district, they'd start at 6 o'clock in the morning. They would move all the homeless off the sidewalks across the street in front of the Times building. And they would all go across the street, and then they set up everything over there and put their crap on that sidewalk. And then they'd go over on this side, and then they'd bring police, sweepers, city dumpers, like 20, 30 people, and they power wash the sidewalks, all right? And they would spend 4 or 5 hours doing this. So by 1 o'clock, they'd finish, and the sidewalk beautifully cleaned, no tents, nothing. Within an hour, they just crossed the street and put their shit right back up. And they did this every week for a fucking year. Why? Because every time that they cleared that sidewalk, they took photos. They counted that as a completed homeless encampment
Oh, shit.
success. Every fucking time, it counted as one victory.
And that would be 52 per year at
Ju-
that location.
Just one location.
Only.
One location. So now these lawyers for the fucking business owners that signed this agreement are saying, well, wait a minute, that's a cheat. You can't fucking count that as removing a homeless encampment. Well, they can, because the city in the agreement has sole discretion.
So they got to ask them, do these crazy fucks that we're talking about,
Yeah.
those white-haired guys, do
Yeah.
they know about this
Right.
shit?
So, in other
And
words,
then
yeah.
they say yes,
yeah,
and then what happens?
yeah. But you see, the problem is if it says sole discretion, how the fuck is the city going to lose? If they say that's success, then it's success. Because the knuckleheaded attorneys that filed this lawsuit to clean up the city streets were fucking stupid enough to put that down, that they have sold, rather than put out metrics, right? Now, the reason why is because once the attorneys settled the case, they filed it in 2020, and in 3 years, they got a full settlement with the city and the county. Guess what happens? They get paid attorney's fees. And a monitor gets paid monthly to monitor it. They get paid money to file reports.
And he needs a staff.
So every month, they're generating billings. Every fucking month, the firm's getting paid to churn paperwork.
Not
So-
the homeless units.
So when you're a firm and you know you're going to get this contract and the city's going to pay you $1.5 million in advance, are you going to let them cheat and get the upper hand? Yes. And that's the reason why the city gets these deals. That's why they're fucking getting away with this shit. Because these prior attorneys, not the ones out, the prior attorneys, they just went ahead, they saw a quick money grab, and they're like, is it okay if we put discretion? Is it okay if we put this in there? Is it okay if we put that in there? Well, I don't know. Well, if you think we're acting in bad faith, you can always go back to the judge. The judge will have jury.
Okay, you're right.
Right? Okay. See, this is what the fuck they do. Okay. So they sign these deals. Now, another thing they do is they have police officers that are whistleblowers, and they know shit that's going down inside, and they have city employees that are whistleblowers that got dirt. So what happens? They sue for wrongful termination. So now the whistleblower is in litigation, got a lawyer, against the city. They got a lawyer. That means that the city can put everything behind closed doors in closed session. Everything that's talked about is a secret. Everything that's talked about is outside the public eye. And what do? If they know the guy's got good information, they offer a big settlement. And they let them keep their job and their pension. So what happens? The city employees enriched. They don't snitch. They keep their job. They get a huge paycheck for personal damages, which is tax-free. So we had like one person got $6.7 million settlement. Kept his job.
So wait, what do you think?
Gets his pension.
If they got 6 points,
Yeah.
for what they've done to us, what the fuck do you think they owe?
Yeah. Well, see, the problem is that.
Did you see what the settlement
Yeah.
was in Chicago?
Yeah.
120 million.
Yeah. But you see, last year, the city had to pay out a record amount of settlements, almost $300 million in payouts. Okay? So the city getting sued like crazy, settling like crazy for bigger and bigger and bigger money. Okay, they're blaming it on the greedy lawyers. They're blaming it on the crazy judges. They're blaming it on, the legal system doesn't allow cities, right? No, they're fucking paying to play. They're paying to shut fucking people up. And they're doing it in a way where they can get them to sign confidentiality agreements so that they don't talk. So that these whistleblowers don't go to the public and say, hey, I've got this. Now,
We'll give you the money.
if they don't,
Shut up.
now if the whistleblower don't want to, let's say they want to go public, they want to go to trial. And they're like, no, you know what, city? Well, I'm going to go public. I'm going to go to trial. I'm going to show the world what you motherfuckers do. So what do? They get continuances. And they continue it for years. Meanwhile, they place the person on administrative leave. Then they have an investigation of the employee.
And they're getting paid.
And then they get their pay cut. Now they're sitting at home, no job, no friends, looking at the paint at the ceiling drying. Can't work, can't get their job back. Everybody knows that they're a snitch. This is another thing. If you sue the city and you're a whistleblower, now nobody wants to have anything to do with you. They don't want to go to your kids' soccer games on Saturdays. They don't want to go to the movies. They don't want to go to barbecues with you. Everybody shuns those people. Okay, so everybody in the city family doesn't like to talk to people who are whistleblowers. And so that's another incentive. So the city's got this built-in system where even if they get people that know shit, they'll keep their mouth shut. And then, of course, the last part is fake criminal charges. So they'll accuse the employee of misdeeds.
Plant some shit on them.
Inflate some shit. So that they can take the person, because you have to understand, when you're a career government employee, you don't have nothing in your life but that city credential. The only thing you have is that world over there at that building. So once you get removed from that place, all your friends are gone. Everybody you know is gone. Your work is gone. Your career is gone. Nobody will hire you for another city because they know you're a fucking snitch. They put the word out. They finger you. That guy's a fucking snitch. He tried to go to the authorities, right? So most people know that if they just last long enough in the city and look the other way and don't say nothing, and don't look for nothing. If they see something, don't say something, and don't look. Just keep your head down and get through that 20 years. You get your full pension. Then you can retire, move out of California, and not have to talk about it. So that's what they did. And then they give you pay increases. So now what they just did, they just cut their staff 3%. They just made a motion to take their staffers and give them a pay cut. They promised them a pay cut, supposed to take effect July the 1st. They just went back and took the fucking raise back. So they just took that money out of their mouths. Now what's that going to do? You're going to have angry city hall staffers in 15 different council offices. How many of them are going to look at their boss and go, you know what that sumbitch did? I was supposed to get a 3% pay hike. They took my raise away from me. They took my goddamn raise away from me. And if you're making $100,000, that's $3,000 per year, plus benefits. That's like losing 6.
Then you got to take inflation.
Plus, so 2 years is 12,000, 3 years is 18,000. So in 5 years, you're losing about 50 grand, right? With that one fucking motion. So what do you think these staffers are going to do? Which is good for us. These staffers aren't going to want to play ball. They're going to go, well, you know what? I know the council member didn't take and use that money for that. They used it for this. So now I suspect, starting after July the 1st, when they get their new paycheck and don't see that pay hike, I think you'll see more leaks of shit. I think you'll see a little bit more leaky.
The DOJ is going to come talking to them.
Of course.
So their incentive to shut up
Is gone.
reduced.
Because now the council members have stabbed their trusted allies in the back. They took their most trusted allies and they cut their motherfucking pay. You don't take, when a shark is eating, you don't take that blubber out of his mouth when he's chewing. If he's got that food in his mouth, you don't touch that shark, because that shark will take your hand off. That's just what they did to these motherfuckers, okay? That's what they did. And as the budget grows, they're going to cut more pay. Or they're going to lay off more people. See, they're telling you in the media they were supposed to lay off 1,400 people. They said they saved 1,000 jobs, and they're only going to lay off 641 people, right? Now, is it because these city council members care so much about the city employee? No. They know that when you cut a couple of thousand people in a city this large, somebody in that pool that you cut, that you don't even know about, is a snitch in the making. You know that out of that 1,600 people, the chances of hitting a snitch are 20 times better than winning the lottery. So they know that they better not be firing anybody. Because if you keep everybody hired and they keep getting paid, they shut their fucking mouths. But when you lay off a couple of thousand people, you're going to get some pissed off people that got some dirt.
All you need is one.
You just need one, a good one, right? So that's the reason why they're going, oh, thank God we saved 1,000 jobs. Under their breath, they're going, well, at least that's 1,000 less potential snitches, right? So that's another reason why they fight so hard to keep jobs, you see. And then they have the police officers. More are quitting every month. And they're dropping hundreds of officers every month.
And who knows more about the crap that goes on
than cops. Well, these cops are retiring. So these are cops taking early retirement or taking immediate retirement.
So they have no risk.
So they get their pensions. So now the city's got billions of dollars of more pension debt. They don't have money to hire new cops. And then they fired the employees that are at the desk jobs that run the computers, that run background checks. Who are they? Probably the number one candidates for snitches are people working in the LAPD that do the background checks. Well, they just fired a couple of hundred of them.
Look up everybody's shit.
Yeah. Right. So they just fired a couple of them, and a couple of council members said, "Oh, that's a bad idea. Oh, that's a bad idea." Yeah. And who was one of those people? Staffer B. John Lee. We have a city council member called Staffer B by the FBI. He was against it. He didn't want anybody fired. So now that they fired these people, who's going to fill the jobs? LAPD cops that are here get overtime. So now all of these cops that are still here are going to get enormous overtime.
Then the budget's going to go more than would have been if they kept them.
And it's going to go even higher than what they saved on the cuts. See, so the cops know that. They're laughing. They're like, "Hey, great. I'll work a desk job for 5 hours a day. I'll come in on a Sunday. I'll earn triple overtime."
Right.
And then they get to add it to their overall pension when they retire. That 180,000 becomes 280,000, 380,000. And so now they're going to get even more pension money by firing civilian employees.
And what does that do to the long-term budget?
It's going to kill it.
They're not extending
well,
the numbers out.
Here's the problem. The city council members can only serve 12 years, 3 terms. If they last for 10 years, they get a lifetime pension. If they don't, they get no pension. So we have an indicted council member, Kern Price. He got indicted last year. He's got a 1-year extension already on his fucking case. So what happened in December? Congratulations. He just celebrated his 10th year as a city council member.
No matter what, even if he goes to jail,
Even if he goes to prison,
he comes out.
he gets a full lifetime city pension with lifetime health care for him and his spouse. He made it. All he had to do was delay the criminal charges till December last year, and he got it on.
And they probably did that.
Yeah.
Shut him up to not take them out.
Oh yeah, he's keeping quiet. So now we're going to go back the end of next month, and the DA's handling the case, not the feds. So the DA comes back every month and goes,
Your Honor, we have some more documents to share with the defense. Can we get a 30-day continuance?
"Okay." And the guy doesn't even have to show up to court. He gets a waiver. What's he accused of? So in 2016, that's how far it is.
You know how much of that continuing shit I went through?
Yeah, 2016. So back in 2013, he comes over here. So when he came to the city, he had a marriage license, and it's routine. You can add your spouse to your health benefits, and the city has a platinum health benefit program for council members, like top tier, better than Congress. Okay, so he adds his wife to it. And he's just saying, "I got a marriage license. Here's a marriage license." Okay, she's added on. What does she start doing? She gets sick, starts drawing money on it. So the city starts paying for her fucking health care, right? So now, he attends a press conference because nobody heard of this guy. Who the hell is he? The guy was living in Inglewood. He became a city council member. Nobody heard of the fucking guy. So he gets in front of the cameras, and he shows his face, and he makes a big pronouncement, and everybody noted who he was. Hey, man, that guy's a well-dressed guy. He's very articulate. African-American. He done very well in life, right? So what happens? Some people apparently started digging and seeing what the fuck's going on with this guy. And they found out he had a divorce that was filed, and he didn't finish it. That could happen. Might be a mistake in the computer. So the divorce got dismissed, and then it got refiled. That one didn't get finished either. Yet, years before, he said he's married. Well, then that means he was married to 2 people at the same time. And everybody went, bigamy? When's the last time you heard of somebody being accused of bigamy, like 1874? What kind of dumb crap is that? So they asked him, and he said, "Oh, I don't discuss that. That's my family. That's a private matter." That's a private matter. Did you get divorced? Oh, yes, I got divorced. My attorney handled it. Okay, well, they looked at the divorce file. Can I see the divorce file? Oh, I don't have a copy of it. So they says, okay. So somebody checked out the divorce file. So when they looked in there, wife number 1 doesn't live in California. Wife number 2 lives with him. But the divorce didn't go through. Well, maybe the wife number 1, maybe she got a divorce somewhere. Nope, she didn't. So then somebody looked at the file and found out, why can't this guy get a divorce? Getting a divorce in California with no kids is a simple goddamn thing. It'd take 4 to 6 months. Why was this going on for 5 fucking years?
Especially if it's agreeable.
Why? So they looked at the file and they found out that the second wife, according to the file, was living at the first wife's house, because her address for wife number 2 was at an address owned by wife number 1 was shown to be living at the house owned by wife number 2. So in other words, that's kind of a kinky. So now that story got goddamn interesting. It's like, hey,
Getting them both at once.
he's got 2 ladies. He's got lady number 1 shacking up over at the house where number 2 lives.
Now, what are they doing there?
So he must have 2 ladies. This guy's a real player. Man, he's bigger than a rock star. This guy must be a goddamn rock star. So now, what happens? What always happens? He hires a criminal attorney right away. And the criminal attorney, like what we saw today, the genius, another genius. He's another genius. The criminal attorney goes to the house and says, I want to make it clear. Another genius. I want to make something very clear. Mr. Price's first wife has never resided in this house owned by the second wife. His first wife has never been to this property. His first wife has never visited this property. She's never lived in this property. She's never leased anything in this property. She has nothing to do with it. Okay? So, okay. They said, so you mean wife number 1 isn't living in wife number 2's house? And the attorney goes, that is correct. That's correct. And they says, okay, perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. Where is she living now? She lives out of state. She's lived out of state for years. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So now, some gumshoe, some little blogger asshole, some little parasite leech gets some information that the voter registration for the first wife was moved to the second wife's house.
Oh, that's how they got it back.
And the process server for the second divorce, under penalty of perjury, served the divorce papers on wife number 1 at that wife number 2's house. And he certified under penalty of perjury that he diligently searched and could not find the first wife. And they filed it. So now, getting back to that attorney, somebody goes, Mr. Criminal Attorney, yes, I have a question. If I may ask you a question. Yes, go ahead. I have here a voter registration of the County of Los Angeles, and I have here a certificate of service for the divorce, clearly showing that what you told us was not true. That the first wife was residing and living in wife number two's house. You know what he said? Bye. And he got the fuck off the case. Now everybody goes quiet. So now, the little gumshoe asshole finds the first wife. Finds her. And of course, what is she? Naturally, she's a lawyer. And she's licensed to practice in California and updates her address with the state bar with her current mailing address. But this process server, under penalty of perjury, who's a professional, says, I couldn't find her. So now they're going to Mr. Genius here. How come you couldn't find your first wife? We found her in 5 minutes. We just called the bar. They gave us her address. We went ahead and mailed her a letter.
You just go online.
We found it in 5 minutes. He goes, no, that's a personal matter. I'm not going to discuss my personal business with you. Okay? So now they go into the divorce file. The reason the fucking divorce didn't go through was because he got the worst thing in life that a politician could get. He got an honest judge. It's the worst thing ever. He threw craps. This honest judge, he got an honest judge that actually took the divorce file and opened it up and looked at it. Because usually they don't.
Kind of like we're doing here.
They usually get 50 files and they just go through them like this. But this guy took the time before 7:30 in the morning to look at this goddamn file. And he flips through it and he goes, you know what? Something's not right here. I have a question. So the judge says, I have a question. Why can't you find your first wife? We tried. What does she do for a living? I think she went to law school. And the judge goes, is she a lawyer? I don't know.
Is she licensed?
I haven't talked in years. So now the judge goes, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to grant this divorce today. I want you to go back to your process server and I want you to search for your first wife. I want you to go through databases. I want you to go through public records. I want you to contact the bar and see if she's registered, okay? I want you to do that first.
He doesn't say he knows, he just says go look there?
Then, right, and he says, then I want you to publish it in a newspaper of general circulation, okay? I want you to come back in 60 days. Well, after that happened, he never came fucking back, man. So that file just sat dormant, and then the judge didn't dismiss it, he closed it. So when all the shit happened, what happened? This black man, goes all the way to Irvine, all the way to Orange County, and he finds the whitest attorney that he could possibly find, a Swedish-American attorney, a divorce lawyer. To do what? To come to LA, right over here at this building, to finish the fucking divorce.
It's a whole day for 5 minutes.
And the guy found the first wife. He found her, just like that. So what happened? They bought a house together in Inglewood, and both names were on it. So that fucking house, especially building SoFi Stadium and all the fucking things going on in Inglewood, that house has got to be worth $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 fucking dollars. It's got half of that house has got to be worth $300,000, $400,000. For reasons we don't know, she takes a buyout for $100,000 cash.
Who buys it?
The councilman gives her $100,000 cash for her share of the house, for her share of the community property. Even though the wife could have went back years for spousal support, she could have went back for half the house. She
What game were they playing?
mysteriously takes $100,000 settlement. So now what happens with our council member? He's having some trouble. He's got to borrow the money to get the $100,000. Okay, so what happens? He gets the 100,000. She gets the 100,000. She cashes it. The divorce lawyer, he wins, and he gets a final divorce. Finally, the man is divorced. He filed the first one in 2006. And finally, after about 14 years, he gets a final divorce. Okay, well, that should have ended the whole matter. That should have, okay, he's married. Now he can go and remarry, his lovely second wife. And they go apparently and they get married. Out of state. So now they come back from the honeymoon. And now they got their real marriage license, got a divorce, and everything is fine. No further problems. Right? Except the DA's office comes in and goes, Mr. Price, yeah? Can we have a word with you a minute? Yeah? We want to talk to you about your wife. What? I did that. No. About your second wife. You voted on some motions where she got contracts from the city, and you had a conflict of interest and you voted for it. Dun,
that after all of that?
dun, 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 dun. So now it's a conflict of interest case. And he wasn't recusing himself on these matters. He was voting on these contracts. And he's never told the city attorney, hey, I have a conflict. I can't vote on this. So he didn't do it. Okay. So now they go, okay, well, that's an ethics matter. That's not a criminal matter. So they file ethics charges against him, right? Okay. Big fucking deal, right? Just pay it, right? So the DA goes, oh, one more thing. We forgot one more thing. Did your second wife get medical benefits from Inglewood and Los Angeles?
Oh.
He goes, say what? Your second wife? I don't know. Well, your second wife filed a claim of damages with the city of Inglewood, wanting them to pay some medical expenses that she had, claiming she's on your health benefit plan from your prior city that she used to live in. He used to be on the Inglewood City Council. And he says, well, I don't know about that. Well, she says it's because she's your wife. That was before the divorce. Were you married to her? I'm not going to answer any question. Well, it's a very simple question. Why did you get a divorce? If the divorce was already done and you married your wife, why would you get a divorce this year and marry your wife again if you married her before?
Fraud.
Yeah. So now the question becomes, how the hell did the city not pick up on this? How did the city not pick up on this? Well, apparently, rumorville, there's a fake marriage license somewhere that they had. So apparently, allegedly, we'll find out if we ever get this trial.
The city could legitimately not know about it.
So apparently,
that is an option.
He had a marriage license. And apparently he submitted that marriage license, showing he's married.
And they double dipped the medical.
See, but that's how they fucking did it. So now he's facing 10 felony charges. And the judge, he had a black judge. Again, what happened? What did he get? Another honest judge. He fucking strikes out 0 for 2. So over there in the criminal courts building, he gets an honest judge, and the judge says, no, you're going to stand on all 10 charges. What the hell? Yeah. So now he's got a law firm. Does he hire a black attorney? He's got the whitest Jewish attorneys in the country. Yet today at the council, the same guy was talking about his black pride. He was talking how proud he is of himself and fellow African American business people. So of course I'm sitting there and I go, well then why don't you hire a black lawyer? Shut up!
Oh, what the fuck?
Shut up!
With that?
Right. Why don't you hire a black lawyer? Shut up! And he just goes like this. It's like, like, no. He's here. It's Friday. Can't you go fucking down to the beach, you prick? So he's at this presentation.
Can you go drown?
Yeah, so he's got all of these black people honoring African American Day, okay? So he's honoring all of these black businesses and all of these entrepreneurs, and he's like, it makes me so proud to see my brothers and sisters, my black brothers and sisters, succeed so well. And well, how come you never hire a black lawyer? You always hire white lawyers, okay? So, that the hypocrite asshole, right? Then you got Mark Ridley Thomas, who knows this building very well.
A lot of good black lawyers in this town.
They're great. I got a lot of them.
I mean, there has to be a lot.
There's a lot of them, but
top law firm.
But they never hire them. So this building is well known to another gentleman named Mark Ridley Thomas.
Yeah.
Mark Ridley Thomas is a giant in politics out here. He was a supervisor. 25 years ago, he was a city council member. So after he was termed out of the county, he needed a job. And he found out through a loophole that he could come back to the city and get 4 more years of being a city council member. So he runs and he wins. It turned into 5.5 years because of a little quirk. So now he's getting his paycheck. And anyway, now he says to me, when he got a little upset at something I said, who the fuck knows what it was, he goes, sir, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Now that's what he told me.
What was that over?
Well, apparently he wasn't happy about something that I said at a meeting.
You remember what you said?
Yeah, I called him a crooked asshole. Okay, and in the meetings at the county, he would go, Madam Chair, excuse me, Madam Chair, excuse me, point of order. He talks like he's got a British accent. Excuse me, even though he's never been to fucking England. Excuse me, point of order. Point of order. Yeah, no, Madam President. This man used the N-word. And that is not going to be tolerated with me in the room.
Is that where this started?
That's where it started. Okay, so this guy, who didn't know at the time he was under investigation. He didn't know he was under investigation. He says, I will not allow, I want this man removed from this meeting immediately, okay? Because I called him Mark Ridley Monkey. And he goes, you, sir, are not going. So what happened? Old Mike Antonovich, it was a county meeting. Mike Antonovich says, he's getting pretty old. He kicks my ass out of the meeting for calling him yeah. And Mike didn't want to do it, but he says, look, I had to do it because this guy is screaming in my ear, okay?
He sure helped us with the subway.
I love the guy. Okay, so now he gets over to the city and he's serving his term. Well, then the FBI comes. Excuse me, sir. Can we talk to you? Who? You, Dr. No. See, he's Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas. He's a doctor.
Does he have a doctorate?
He got an honorary doctorate's degree.
Oh, so now he's allowed to be called Dr.
USC! So he is now Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas. So the FBI says, I'm so sorry, Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas, Your Honor, can we have a word with you? Well, yeah, what is it? Well, we would like to know something. You wrote a $100,000 check from your re-election campaign to a nonprofit. Do you remember that? A nonprofit affiliated with USC? Oh, yes, of course. Yes, of course. To help with mental disabilities. Yes, I remember that. Okay. Did you remember voting on a $17 million? Did you remember voting on a $17 million teleconference contract with USC? From the same school that your son got a job with? No, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, it was a no-bid contract for $17 million. Do you? Oh, yes. I remember that, yes. And your son got a teaching job with that school of medicine. Do you remember that? That group of... Oh, sure, absolutely. Of course, my son, yes, who used to be in the legislature. Yes, I remember that. He retired at only 29 years old. He was the youngest man ever elected to the state assembly. Yes, my wonderful son. Yes, I remember that. Okay. Where did he get his degree from? Where did he get his doctorate degree? No, he doesn't have a doctorate degree. Does he have a master's? He's working on it. He's working on his he has a bachelor's. He's working on the master's degree. And how much is he paying for it? Listen, I'm sorry, Mr. Agent. I have to ta-ta to another day. I have a lunch engagement. I need to talk a little bit later. Can I talk a little bit later? I can't remember. I can't remember what it was. Well, we'll wait here. When are you going to be back? Well, I have to go over to Lancaster, and then I have to come back here. Sure. You know what? Let's meet tomorrow morning over at the Denny's. You know where the Denny's is over there on Figueroa? Yes. Well, let's meet there tomorrow. Let's say 9 o'clock for breakfast. My treat. We can pick this conversation up. So now he's going, what the bloody fucking hell is this shit? Okay, so he goes, I'm going to go to a white-collar criminal lawyer. And the white-collar criminal lawyer goes, you got nothing to worry about, okay? First of all, you can legally donate money to a nonprofit. It's not illegal. You mean what I did was not a crime? That's correct. But the bloody FBI agent, no, the FBI agent full of shit, okay? They're just trying to trick you. They're trying to suck information out of you.
Never told his lawyer what happened.
They're trying to fuck with your mind, okay? But Mr. Defense Lawyer, I have to tell you something else. I arranged to get a job for my son. Yes, we know about that, but that's perfectly legal. He's getting an education free, along with a scholarship, and he has a teaching job. And that is perfectly legal. He is allowed to do that. Oh, really? But I voted on the contract. Yes, but you see, we know that when you voted on that contract at the Board of Supervisors, we watched the tape, you weren't even paying attention. It was a consent vote. Oh, I remember that. You mean when we got up, that we only had 3 people there out of 5. And we got up, and the chair said, when the vote came, I ask for unanimous consent. And I didn't say anything. I stepped away from my pew. That's right. So that means they can't prove that you knowingly voted for the contract. So just in case something happens, remember, you got to tell them, I wasn't paying attention. I was in the back having a mimosa. And the chair called it for unanimous consent. I didn't say anything, and it passed unanimously, but I didn't even know. Oh, bloody perfect. Excellent. So he goes to the FBI. Fuck off. Okay. So they said, okay, we just indicted the dean of the school.
On this case.
What do you mean? Well, we just indicted the dean of the school
That was that woman,
of
right?
medicine that your son got the job with. And she says a lot of things. She said that you arranged for that job for the son, and that payment in exchange for her $17 million no-bid contract for her school of medicine. What the fuck? So anyway, so now this old 83-year-old lady is the dean of the school of mental medicine or some shit, right? So she walks in like this.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you okay, ma'am?
I'm suffering from a number of ailments. I have problems remembering, and here's my doctor letter. I'm under medical care, Your Honor. I can't. I'm trying to help with the agents, but I can't really. I drift in and out sometimes. I'm sorry.
Well, are you pleading guilty?
Yeah, I believe so. My lawyer had me sign those papers.
Did you read those papers?
Yes, I did.
And you agree to those papers?
Yes, I did.
And you understand that you have to pay a substantial fine, that you could face up to 10 years in federal prison for this charge.
He explained that to me.
And so the government says they're going to give you 3 years of house arrest. Is that correct?
Yes, they said that as long as I stay in my house and I water my plants and I don't use the F word and pay the fine thingy, that I'm not going to go to prison for one fucking day. Excuse me, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I mean 1 day.
Okay. Is that what the government wants? Yes, Your Honor. So she gets sentenced, no jail time, big fine, house arrest. So that's the yeah. So she gives a big long affidavit. Mark Ridley did this. Mark Ridley did that. So what happens? Ridley decides to be defiant, and he won't take a deal. He goes to fucking trial, and it was a big show. It was a big show, right? He had all kinds of witnesses. So the old lady did not testify at the trial. The star witness doesn't take the stand. Well, Your Honor, the FBI can proceed without that witness. So they proceed without the star witness.
But they got the docs.
So Ridley doesn't take the stand. Remember, old check yourself, wreck yourself. He decides to remain silent. So they put on a trial. And, they go, okay, you went to this lady, you got an honorary degree, you talked to her, you got a donation for nonprofit, the nonprofit then sets up, your son gets a teaching job he wasn't qualified for. In fact, he fucked up and he lost a gig. He didn't get the degree. Okay, so he comes back, jury trial. The jury comes back, and some of the charges got dropped, not guilty, but he gets found guilty.
All you need is one.
Well, he had several charges. So now,
I mean, you need to get guilty on one
right?
charge.
Yeah. So he got multiple charges, guilty. Fraud, honest services. Okay. So now, he's defiant. So he has all of these ministers, all of these community activists all show up.
What a good guy he is.
101, and everybody said, if Jesus Christ came back to earth, he'd be black. He would be Mark Ridley Thomas. That's how good he is. That is the saint that this man is. Okay, so they hear from all the witnesses. So now, he comes up there and goes, I will not impugn myself to this bloody thing. And he won't take responsibility, okay? So he had this old little white lady judge, little tiny woman about 4 foot fucking tall. So she props her ass up and gives the dude 3.5 fucking years. So he gets 3.5 year sentence, okay? So what does he do? He appeals the case. That fucking case has been on appeal over a fucking year. Meanwhile,
But that's normal, isn't it?
yeah, meanwhile, the FBI's got their handcuffs ready. So the FBI goes, well, fuck it. He can appeal it, but we're going to put his ass in jail now.
How do they do that?
Can't, because he's a politician. So what happens?
Well, you're on appeal, so.
But the FBI says it's okay. He can stay out on bond pending the appeal. So he's out. He's been out the whole fucking time.
But he's still not out of jeopardy.
No. So they did the
So
appeal.
they're just going, whatever.
Right. So now we're waiting for 3 judges in San Francisco, and we've been waiting for months.
But that's normal.
Well, this happened almost 9 fucking months ago,
They've had
right?
it a year. You see.
Well, yeah, they've had a long fucking time.
And a year is like
Okay,
nothing
right.
on appeal.
So anyway, so now you've got him facing potentially 3.5 years, former city council member. Another city councilman rotting in prison for 13.5 years in Lompoc. You got another convicted city council member, only did 7 months, and we still don't know why the fuck he only did 7 months. And then you got the one that's currently indicted, and he's indicted in the state. So since 2020, there have been 4 city council members that have been indicted. 3 of them convicted. All right, so they're waiting appeal. But anyway, remember, this is the guy, this other guy, Ridley, that said, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay? Here's an asshole that's writing these checks to this fucking nonprofit, arranging a job for his son, and God knows what the fuck else. Telling somebody from the public they better check themselves before they wreck themselves. This is the kind of
Who
psychopaths.
tells the truth, bud?
These are the megalomaniac psychopaths that you have, that people are voting into office.
Don't forget the sociopath.
Just the ones you caught, okay? So you see, all of these fuckers, they all could be charged
And let's
for
bring
something,
that back
right?
to the day with
But-
the DOJ sitting in the bathroom seat.
Yeah, but you see, if they did their job, they'd be out of a job. Because you see, the funding for the federals is based on need. If they clean up the whole rat's nest, well, then they're not needed. And then all that staff gets laid off. See? So what they have to do is they have to keep work. So that's what they do. And they got hundreds of fucking agents. They got hundreds of fucking, all these people working as corruption probes.
We called it make work.
Okay? So they got work. You know, I had a U.S. attorney one time
I gotta get going, you guys.
who actually told me,
I'll see you Monday.
We'll end it on this one.
right,
Okay.
who actually fucking told me, because this guy got mad. Okay? He said, you know why I file all that extra paperwork? Job security. And he basically said, we're here for job security to keep our fucking jobs. And he says, so when you guys sue us, we love it because it keeps us employed. Okay? Now this is the same fucking guy that goes on TV and goes, we're tired of these insane lawsuits against the government and everything. And this guy at lunch is like, well, thank God you guys are doing it because it keeps us employed. You see what you see the fucking you see all of the bullshit, right? Okay? So on the one hand, you might see these guys going, oh, we want to get the bottom of this homeless shit. But on the other hand, they're going, well, Christ, if we find the $2 billion, then half of us are going to get laid off. We're not going to be needed.
And guess what's happened? We know where the fucking money
Sure
is.
they know. where the fuck-
And here's
that's
what's
right.
happening.
Yeah.
The game is falling
Yeah.
because with what we've set up, with what we discussed here as we've been putting it together, is we've set them up to all go down together.
Yeah.
Which means what? This is the way you clean the mess out. If you don't put people in jail that are crooked,
Mhm.
they go, who gives a fuck?
Who cares? Pay a
But
fine. Pay a
when
fine.
everybody else that wants that job sees that they go to a place where you don't want to fucking be,
The next guy.
they're going to be watching their ass, especially if assholes like
Yeah.
us. And
Yeah.
then because we do this, other people are going to go, because this is what my game has been,
Yeah. All over
to
the
take
country.
people to believe
All
that you
over.
can't do anything. And why I've
Yeah.
done it with nothing is to go, Don't tell me you can't do it with nothing. Because look what we've done. So you're not using your money doing this. Look how you dress going into these places.
Exactly.
It's what you say
Right.
and what the knowledge is.
Right. Versus
And
all
if
the
you
bullshit.
do that,
Yep.
maybe you can do it too. And you can have some power, which is just the deal that we've been doing with these homeless people who are the most disenfranchised, deballed in that sense of power people. But what we're doing is we're putting power back in their hands where they've been suppressed from anybody finding out what really happens to them because they don't want them to find
Now you
out.
find out.
But now we're going to make sure that that gets out, and as we get them energized, that gets more of them going, and as they learn how they get fucked, they're going to get more pissed, right?
Yep. So
And
that's
they
how it
got to
works.
be shitting with all these homeless and the ones that are staying here the whole fucking day.
Yeah, I mean, but the big thing with the homeless is, or they were fucking stupid, is they could have done a really good job, a really big push, and housed 8,000 of them.
When if they'd have
If
listened to
they-
us
if-
7
right,
years ago,
right.
this would be over.
Right. See, they could have done it for good advertising, but what happened is they got so fucking greedy, and they just saw the voters passing more money. They said,
Fuck it.
"Fuck it, put more on the street," because it's an endless look. So they just got so greedy.
And we'll have
They-
the developers giving us more money for
Couldn't see.
elections.
It's it's just a never-ending spree of fucking spending. The voters are going to vote us for more money.
I'm going to equate
And that's
this
what it is.
to what I did in,
That's
in
what
the
these
funny
motherfuckers
farm,
are.
okay?
Yeah.
And here's what it is.
Final one.
What
Final
you got to
one.
do, here's the key,
That's the
people.
key.
Final one.
Final one.
It's all about breaking a cycle. When I was in the funny farm, I had a roommate. He would take off his clothes. First, he would lay down and he'd go to sleep for 15 seconds. He'd jump up, take off his clothes, and go right out in the hall, and I'd have to grab him so that he wouldn't be 10 guys jumping on him, right? So I came up with an idea, and I went and talked to the pharmacist. And I said, well, how about if we gave him a big dose of shit to knock him out and see what happens? Well, we knocked him out. Guess what? Within 1 day, he ends up in a halfway house. The same happened with the people that scream 24 hours a day. The shrinks couldn't do nothing with them. Do you know how I stopped that? I simply sat down and talked with them for a couple hours. And nobody ever listened to them. Did somebody actually listen to them? It's called breaking the cycle. So if we can break the cycle of corruption in one clean shot in this major city, what message does that send across the rest of the country? What the fuck you can do? And what can that cause on a national level that goes to the federal level to the problem we got with the assholes there? Don't think this can't happen. And with that, we got to call it a day because we got to go home because it's late.
See you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out to Doc and Goat Puppet.